We created these abominations. We gave life to a horrible mistake. We instilled these monsters with free will, yet they turned against us. When we gave these hideous creatures life, we were desperate. We needed something to carry our people to safety. Something to deliver us a morning star of hope. We needed so much. The hours spent without sleep, all for naught. When time stopped on our world, we had no time gears to regulate the world's chronological flow, no temporal tower to fall back to, and magic away our never-ending wishes for peace. Days grew shorter, minutes split in half, every second quartered and drawn. The sunset greeted us much quicker, day by day, nearer and nearer. It started at 5, then 4, then 3, and we took as little a note of it as we should of the lowing of a simple Tauros, grazing in an insignificant patch of field. We were blindsided. When we had the retrieval parties gather up eggs of the Pokémon known as Eevee, we believed we could introduce their genetic code to something outside its genetic selection. Wiser now, we should have let through the Ultra Wormhole ourselves, not let these vile constructions of ours take root like a damned plague. The first to be introduced to our ancestors' technology was an egg taken from a simple, broken down house in a tree. We made certain it was even able to hatch before we could welcome the poor little devil into our world. But first, we had to source an evolution method, and we found it, sitting below our cities. The thing our ancestors created, the previous occupants of the world we had so desperately wished to live upon. That would be our salvation. The McLaren Artura, built by human hands several dozen centuries ago, now sits in solitude, its mighty voice no longer to be heard. Only now, that voice is tainted, roaming the wilds of the Pokémon world, catching unsuspecting travelers off guard. This was all our fault. When it came time to introduce these vermin into our society, they were terrorized. Our unearthly thorns sent some running straight for the hills. From that point onward, we had to deliberate. What were we to do? Mindless babbling, until one of us suggested we simply introduce these evolutions to the rodents themselves before they even hatched. It was a shot in the dark. We had no way to tell if it was viable. So, one more egg was taken. This time, we had to sacrifice one life to give another new life. Our greatest authority on this notion was that the Artura's hybrid aspect would convert into energy necessary for evolution. Our biggest ever mistake. But when this process happened, the creature's physiology was beyond our control. It seemed to be the perfect candidate for what we wanted. And yet, the mind we gave it was not perfect. It was not obedient. The intellect and self-awareness it displayed, we couldn't have predicted. The intelligence from the infotainment system, the copious knowledge hardwired into the Artura, gave it a remarkable brain, and an even greater sense of scheming. We repeated this process even more. All the while, time was starting to unravel further and further. From our gaze, we only had 5 and 6 weeks left before our world was fully paralyzed. And that was when the great disillusionment kicked in. Senator betrayed senator. Family started mauling family. And this chaos eventually caused our little abominations, these autolutions, ample time to learn how our society would fall apart. The fall wasn't as easy to read as we had thought. We had to move en masse. The grey dust coloured our streets, now lined with depleted corpses. Brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, we were dying off day by day. Each minute, dozens of children would have to say goodbye to their parents. Some in the council suggested we waged an aggressive invasion of the Pokémon world just beyond the Ultra Wormholes. It was getting to the point where I had some of our favourite Autolutions prepare for a full frontal invasion. And there was little we had in the way of choice. We didn't have the resources or time to plan anything of the sort. So, we would need to hide ourselves away. Maybe we would be able to survive if we lived under the ground, away from the prying eyes of these hideous creatures that litter this planet. But that outcome is more unlikely than now than it was years ago. Our species is destined to rot, like everything does, and it will be only a matter of time until the karma that hit us from creating these horrible beasts comes back to strike us down. For all the parental relationships we've ruined, for taking the futures of so many young. Who knows what some of the children we still could have done when they were older, what evolutions they could have chosen, the relationships they could have had. And we stole that all away. We turned their future into something horrible. For that, we will forever apologize. If I'm even able to apologize to one of you, if one of the beasts does not strangle me to death, I am sorry for what we have done. So very sorry.